Something that Alfred have been exceptionally captivated by is the power and secret of computing. The first sentence of the book that Jeff, John, and Alfred wrote that the design and analysis of computer algorithm begins with a sentence.
Algorithms are at the very heart of computer science.
Alfred Aho and Jeffrey Ullman developed efficient algorithms for analyzing and translating programming languages. Their joint and individual research contributions over the span of several decades have shaped the foundations of programming language theory and implementation, as well as algorithm design and analysis. Both Aho and Ullman were involved in the early stages of automated theory and language theory. In summer of '65, Ullman gone to work for Seymour Ginsburg out in Santa Monica, and Ullman picked it up there. So Aho worked with John Hopcroft, picked it up from him at essentially the same time. So they started to think about where does automatic theory and language theory would apply best, and that naturally led them to look at compilers.
And if we look at a compiler, it really consists of a front end where you do analysis of the source program, lexical analysis, syntax analysis, semantic analysis, map it into some kind of intermediate representation, and then you have a back end that maps the intermediate representation into code that can be executed by the underlying computer.
The first step they took was in the design of parse generator, which became YAC. YAC for Yet Another Compiler was a term which coined by Jeff basically, and developed by Steve Johnson, who was one of their colleagues, but the three of them worked in concert, trying to develop some of the algorithms and theory behind YAC, and Steve was the one who implemented it. Aho and Ullman's contribution for fundamental algorithms and theory underlying programming language implementation, and for synthesizing these results and those of others in their highly influential books, which educated generations of computer scientists, has earned them the 2020 ACM Turing Award. With the help of Aho and Ullman's contribution in this field of research, compilers can translate high-level languages into a more basic set of instructions exist today largely in part. So the question is, how did they both meet, and more importantly, how were they able to foster such a strong bond of collaborations? Alfred says they met on the registration line at Princeton University in '63, but Ullman thinks they were at Bell Lab together. They joined this fledgling Computer Science Research Center at Bell's Lab. It was a research center that invented the Unix operating system, the C and C++ programming languages. So it was an environment where they were surrounded by brilliant people doing very interesting researches. Alfred and Ullman eventually put all the findings from the research and published compiler principle techniques and tools, now known simply as the Dragon Book. They had the feeling that what we were talking about in that book was truly significant tools that made the writing of specific aspects of a compiler much more simpler than you would naturally suspect it's from the outset, and it's appeared to have worked.
My daughters came to me and said they saw this movie, Hackers, with a young Angelina Jolie in it, and in the movie the cover of the Dragon Book was flashed on the screen, and for the first time in their life they thought, hey, our old man is really something.
Computational thinking is very much like writing. Everybody needs to know how to write a reasonable sentence. Similarly, I think everybody needs to understand what the programming process is, even though
If you have read Yuval Harari, he wrote a book called Homo Deus, and at the end of the book he asks some interesting questions. Two of them are organisms just algorithms and his life just data processing? So I will leave it at that.